To get started with my fried shrimp, I am going to make a homemade tartar sauce. So here I have 1 cup of mayonnaise. You can use the mayonnaise of your choice. I'm using Hellmann's. I'm also going to add some chopped dill pickle. This is around 1.5 tablespoons of dill pickle, and I am using the Vlasic brand of sandwich dill chips. These are thick sliced dill pickle. And I grabbed 2 of those and just chopped them up. I will be putting the weighed ingredients and measurements in the description below. So right into the bowl with my chopped pickles. I also like to add some sweet pickled relish. I'll put below adding 1 tablespoon of that. I didn't have any today, but that's usually what I add, and I think it goes great. I'm also going to add some freshly chopped scallion. This is also around 1.5 tablespoons of chopped scallion. And you can play around with the ratios of some of these ingredients to suit your needs and preferences. Next, I'm also going to add some freshly squeezed lemon juice. You could also add some lemon zest to this, but I like to just add the juice. And this is 1 tablespoon of lemon juice right into this as well. Now, the next ingredients are completely up to you. I like to use lemon pepper, onion powder, and salt. Here I have 1/4 teaspoon of lemon pepper, and this is a salt-free lemon pepper, 1/4 teaspoon of granulated onion powder, and 1/8 teaspoon of salt. You can definitely change the ratios or use the seasonings of your preference. This is just what I like to use. So now I'm going to give everything a really good mix and make sure it combines well. So once I'm done combining my tartar sauce, I am going to cover this in cling wrap, and I'm going to place this in the refrigerator to allow it to set for at least 1 hour. I actually like to do this the night before doing a fish fry because it gives all the ingredients a chance to develop and marry together. Okay, so on to the shrimp. I am going to be using 1 pound of jumbo. You could use large or medium. I'm using jumbo sized shrimp. And I went ahead and rinsed it and patted it dry. And now I'm going to add seasonings and create this marinade for the shrimp. I'm going to start by adding 3 tablespoons of white cooking wine. You could also substitute this with Mirin. If I had Mirin, I would totally use Mirin. I love the flavor that it gives shrimp. Or you can exclude this and add just a little bit of lemon or lime juice. Next, I'm going to add 1/4 teaspoon of Creole seasoning. I like using Tony Chachere's, especially on seafood or just proteins, chicken, shrimp. But here I'm using Tony Chachere's Creole seasoning. You can use Cajun seasoning, you can use seasoning salt, anything you want to use, you can add it. I'm also going to add 1/2 teaspoon of granulated onion powder. I'll also be adding 1/2 teaspoon of salt-free lemon pepper. And the reason why I like to use salt-free lemon pepper is because I get to control the amount of salt that goes into a recipe. And I'm also adding 1/2 teaspoon of granulated garlic powder. Now I'm just going to give this a good mix. And again, you could use things like Old Bay, a Cajun seasoning of your choice, seasoning salt. You could just use salt and pepper. It's up to you. And definitely season and salt to your preference. So once I'm done giving this a really good mix and make sure everything's combined, I'm going to cover it in cling film, and I am going to pop this into the refrigerator to marinate for at least 30 minutes. Okay, now I'm going to work on my dredge. Here I have just a flat bottomed pie plate. You can use a bowl or vessel of your choice. So you can definitely dredge your shrimp in anything you want. Panko, breadcrumbs, cornmeal, flour. Today I'm using a combination of 3 of those things. Here I have 1/3 cup of yellow cornmeal, 1/3 cup of all-purpose flour, and I will be adding 1/3 cup of plain breadcrumbs. You can substitute the breadcrumbs with panko breadcrumbs because that will definitely give it a crunchier texture, but this is going to be crunchy, don't worry. Now I'm going to add somewhere between 1/4 teaspoon and 1/2 teaspoon of paprika. I think this is actually 1/4 teaspoon of paprika. And I'm going to add 1/4 teaspoon of salt to this dredge. Again, if you want it to be saltier, add more. It is up to you. And if you want more seasoning in your dredge, add what you like. So now I'm going to give this a mix and make sure it is combined well. Okay, so my dredge is ready. I'm going to set that aside. And next I am going to be using 1 large egg. And all I'm going to do is basically crack this egg in the bowl and give it a good scramble. And I will be pouring this all over my shrimp. Now, what I like to do is just add the egg to the shrimp, mix it all up, and then dredge it into my dredge mixture. But I do know that a lot of people like to dust the shrimp, then dip it in the egg, then into the dredge to ensure the crust stays on the shrimp. But I'm going to be honest, I do it this way all the time and it works. But I definitely want you to use the method that you prefer and that you find most effective in your kitchen. But this is the way I'm going to do it, and it works just fine. Okay, so my egg is mixed in with the shrimp. I'm going to, again, make sure that it's mixed and coated well with the egg. And I didn't even drain out any of that white wine. I just left it in there. So now I'm going to dredge the shrimp, and I'm going to use the wet hand, dry hand method as best as I can. Sometimes I forget and cross my hands. But anyways, you're going to take the shrimp and pop it right into your dredge, coat it well, and you can give it a firm press to help it coat better. And then I'm just going to set it on a plate to the side, and I'm just going to do that for all of my shrimp. And once I'm done with all of my shrimp being dredged, I'm going to let them set for around 5 to 10 minutes just so the coating sets. Okay, so I wanted to show you. This is what's left of my dredge after coating my last 2 pieces of shrimp. So for those of you wondering, 1 cup of dredge with seasonings in it will definitely coat 1 pound of shrimp. So I am just going to clean up my little workstation here and wipe down the counter. And again, once you dredge your shrimp, you want to allow it to set for around 5 to 10 minutes. That will actually help the crust stay on the shrimp and not float too much into your oil. In the meantime, I'm going to start my fry oil, and I found myself in a little bit of a situation here. I actually have to use 3 different types of oil to make up for the amount that I need to fry this shrimp. And I'm not really deep frying this shrimp. You can definitely deep fry shrimp if you have enough oil. I'm just going to pan fry it. So here I've added some vegetable oil. Now I'm adding some avocado oil. And as you can see, I'm just out of all kinds of oil, and I'm basically trying to at least have around 3/4 of an inch to an inch of oil in my pan. That'll be enough to definitely fry this shrimp. And now I'm adding some grapeseed oil. Mind you, all these oils have a high smoke point, so this is why I'm using this combination, but definitely use your run-of-the-mill vegetable fry oil. Peanut oil is another one. So I'm going to let this preheat, and once it comes up to temperature, and by temperature I mean a piece of this dredge starts to fry and float, I am ready to start frying my shrimp. But I do want to show you a mistake that happens when you actually don't take the temperature of your fry oil. By the way, I will be placing my fried shrimp on this platter with some paper towels. So a good fry temperature would be 350 degrees Fahrenheit. And again, it's probably wise to actually use a thermometer to check the temp of your fry oil, but I do have one somewhere, but it is somewhere that I don't know where. So I typically do the whole put the wooden spoon in the oil, and if it starts to bubble and fry around the wooden spoon or the chopstick, you know, it's ready to go. But again, remember I said earlier I'm going to show you what happens when you don't measure the temp of your fry oil. Now, my shrimp does appear to be frying at a good rate, but I can already tell once I start to flip it over right here, the crust is starting to have these little deeper brown burnt bits on the crust, and it hasn't even been in the fry oil very long. And it doesn't take very long for shrimp to cook, by the way, but this is a good indicator that my oil is a little too hot. So I am going to adjust the heat. I'm going to bring it down and make sure that my shrimp crust does not burn. I can already tell this crust is going to be darker because I have to let it cook in order for the shrimp to cook through. If I were to take it out now, it's probably going to be raw on the inside. So I have to make sure that it cooks through. So right now the shrimp is curled. That's a good indicator that the shrimp is cooked. But you can see already the exterior of this crust does have some singed edges to it. And again, that's just one indicator, aside from actually measuring the temperature of your oil, that your oil is too hot. So you'll want to adjust the heat if you start seeing that the crust gets a little too dark too fast. And I've already adjusted the heat, and in this next batch, I'm pretty sure the heat adjustment, it'll take its time cooking the shrimp and the crust won't burn before the shrimp has a chance to cook through. So I'm going to continue cooking all of my shrimp, but I did want to show you the difference in the crust. As I explained earlier, how some of the crust got sort of burnt edges and the other one has even golden brown coloring. The one here on the left definitely has those burnt edges, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. It didn't get too out of hand, but it's just an indicator that the oil was a little too high. And this one here is cooked perfectly. I love this golden brown, even crust. So my shrimp is done, and my husband and kid are basically going to share this shrimp platter, and he is all too eager to give it a try.
So good.
So I think it's safe to say that he really likes this fried shrimp. So I hope you guys give this recipe a try. I hope you like it, and thanks for watching.